welcome. First Thursday of the year, 2017. And what an amazing year it is already because I get to hang out with these two beautiful people, amazing, inspiring human beings, just to challenge you to have a better human experience. And first of all, on your left, that's Wendy West. She's my producer and just such an amazing figure. And I've learned so much from her. And I'm really glad that you're here today. And none other than Leah Notarianni, an amazing person. I've been watching her on Facebook Live and been totally inspired by, just this authentic and genuineness that she gets to express with you guys. And I really would like people to know much more about her. And the truth is, just what this platform really is all about. It's real people, real conversations. It's about the stuff that you don't know that's going to make that shift, that's going to make that change in your life so that you can be that person that you want to be. And I had a very insightful conversation, really connected with Leah, before the show, and really love what she has to share. So before I start talking about that, I really want her to talk about that. So Leah, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. And you know what, Bart, we were having an awesome conversation and we were basically talking about staying true to yourself. And it really aligned with your message about staying authentic in who you are. So that's really the message that I'm bringing out this year is staying true to who you are. And oftentimes we see so many people that are so inspiring and doing so many great things that oftentimes we look at them in inspiration, but we also look at them and think, oh, I want to be like them. And sometimes there's a fine line between admiring somebody else's work and losing yourself and in staying true to who you are. So I love that you shared that, Bart.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that because I've been on this personal growth, personal development track for about 18 years now. Before that, extensive medical training, and so I had no clue what this was. And once I discovered this area, and I'm going to let you talk about this specifically, is that I discovered that when I met these people that I totally respected and admired, I started talking like them. And I thought, this isn't right. This isn't me. And so I love what you shared with me earlier on, is that, we all desire to have that best version of ourselves. And too often we start, looking at other people and modeling them or mimicking them. That's not really us. So what is it that you then tell people about finding their true version of themselves?
So for me, when I think of what is the soulful hustle, it's either I find ourselves we are on the very super soulful side or we're all straight hustle. And I love to find that balance in between. And I find that balance there is really truly the sweet spot. And when you truly have the confidence in who you are, because we're all created with a unique gift and talent. And what I love to do is help people dig into their own soul to find out what is it that you love, what is it that you're here to do, be, create, because that part of your genius needs to come out. And it's when you stay true to who you are, you're able to collaborate and align yourself with other people that have different gifts than you instead of trying to be the jack of all trades and the master of none. So one of the things that I love sharing is truly that self-awareness of figuring out who you are and what you're here to do and give. So a lot of the work that I do is really digging into that, digging into their vision on their life and really what are they here to do. And sometimes it's uncovering and unbecoming all the things that we thought we were, or being the person that our parents or family or somebody else wanted you to be, and then truly just for once being authentically yourself. And I share that story because a year ago I made a promise to myself that I was going to be unapologetically authentically myself, and I made so many massive changes in my life, and so many people around me said, wow, like you've changed so much. And for once I just became authentically me, and I uncovered all of the things that weren't serving me, that weren't me, that it was pleasing to other people. So when you really step into that power, into that space, you really you build that confidence, you build that muscle to really show you that your gift is unique. What you have is special to bring into the world. So I love helping people step into their power, bringing out the best in them, because that's truly the brilliance that we all have within us. Instead of just looking at other people and just wanting to become them, we lose ourselves.
So you made a shift, and
Hmm.
what was that? What was the inspiration? What was there? There must have been a trigger that said, "Hey, enough of this. This is what I want to be." I mean, what was that all about?
That's a good question. So, I am a single mom. I have two young girls, and I was at a point in my life that I knew that there was something more, and I knew that I was put on this earth to be more than just mom. And it's okay if there's women out there that are those just love being a mom. And but I knew that there was something inside of me that needed to be more of there was my career, there was something that was missing. And it was that piece of me that was not being authentically me. It was worrying about what other people thought. So the triggers that kind of led up to that was me just being unhappy and frustrated and not really knowing which way to turn to. And because I had my children so young, it led me to figure out a lot about myself. But having my children so young, also, I put my whole self aside to be the mom that I needed to be at such a young age. So when I did that, I lost a part of me through the process. And I decided that you can have both. You can be both. You can be an amazing mother and you can still have dreams and aspirations and be the person that you are really created to be and give and do in this world. So the point that was a big trigger for me was I know there's something more and I'm too afraid not to explore that instead of being fearful of where I am. Like I was actually fearful of not doing it and seeing what was happening rather than the process of it being fearful and scary and all this change. I was more fearful of staying the same.
Wow. It's interesting you say that, and when you speak to women, and I have an amazing respect for women. Being in
Hmm.
the women's industry in a sense as a plastic surgeon for so many years,
Right.
and I was watching a movie, and I forget the name of the movie, but Meryl Streep was in it back in the 1800s, late 1800s. Women in England couldn't vote, and I thought to myself,
Yeah.
how is that even conceivable? And the same thing, similar patterns happen today. That so many have these ideas of what they can and cannot do,
Yeah.
and technically speaking, so many women and men as well, obviously, are not being the best that they can be. And
Hmm.
so I really appreciate you also speaking out to women because that woman next to you, Wendy, I mean, you had an amazing transformation at one point in your life.
Yes, I did. I went from being a severely hearing impaired person to having superhuman hearing. So that was a huge change.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, and but it was gradual. Thank you, Mayo Clinic. But yeah, it was very gradual. But it also made me realize that there's a lot more to the world than what most people perceive.
Mm.
When you don't have one of your senses, you rely on your others more. And it's actually pretty neat if you ever get a chance to deprive yourself from one of your senses and just live,
Yeah.
you're going to really
Yeah.
discover new things about yourself.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So Leah, thank you, Wendy. So Leah, when you have people come to you, where do you start?
Hmm.
And actually, how do people present themselves to you? I'm kind of curious. I mean, are they coming like, frustrated, they need to change their lives, or are they like coming to you thinking, what, life can be better, or life is great and they just want it better than that? I mean, what kind of people are finding you?
That's a really great question because I get asked that often, and it's truly a little bit of a mix. But from people that have known me for long periods of time have said, "Oh, like, who are you? What have you done? You're doing all of these amazing things. You're traveling all over the world. You're a single mom. You have two kids. You travel with them. You have zero excuses." and you're just going out and doing all of these things. Like, how are you doing them? What changed in you? So I find that a lot of the times that it sometimes comes from curiosity, like, how are you doing? But I look at it a little bit deeper, like, why would they be curious? Because there's something that obviously resonates with them that they're curious about. So it's a lot of the times that people are curious about, like, how are you doing what you're doing? Or they resonate with one of my stories. So I do a lot of Facebook Lives on my page, just inspirational things and stuff like that. But a lot of the times, people do come to me for their business that they see that there's an issue with their business, but business is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. So it's really breaking through those barriers. A lot of people think it's just strategy. It's really not. It's breaking through a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of thoughts, a lot of all of that stuff that we kind of carry on. It oftentimes manifests in our businesses. And a lot of the people that come to me would be people that are wanting to grow their business, or they're frustrated, or different things. So to answer your question in a nutshell, it would be from people that are curious, somebody that really resonates with my story as a young mother, or somebody that's really just wanting more. But I don't really attract the kind of people that are not ready for change, because it hasn't happened yet. It's people that are really, they don't know what it is, but they know that there's something. There's something, but I'm not too sure what it is.
You know, it's interesting because Wendy's heard the story a whole bunch of times already, but I'm going to share it again.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
It's I went to medical school when I was 17, and then went through a course of 17 years of training, and ultimately became a plastic surgeon and moved to Florida. And pretty much, grew up in 5 different countries and speaking 4 different languages. And I thought to myself, well, hang on a second, I've got a great education, great parents, I've been very lucky my entire life. But what's wrong? I mean, I had 3 beautiful kids. And, what's wrong? And I couldn't figure it out. And then I would see all these self-improvement gurus and all that stuff. And they always turned me off. I thought, what are these guys selling? More nonsense, really. But fortunately, a patient actually dragged me to an event with Tony Robbins. And it was something I just was not prepared to go to. I did not want to go there. I had every intention to leave within about 5 minutes. And interesting enough, within about 10 minutes, I realized that my whole life was about to change. And most importantly, kind of sort of like what you said earlier, that I wasn't being the dad that I was meant to be for my own kids. And that was a huge motivator for me. But what was huge, and this is the reason for this platform, really is all about what you don't know that you don't know. And so I'm excited to hear some pearls that you might have that you can share with people about specifically that. I mean, I've listened to a bunch of your live shots, and I like them because they're just raw, they're authentic, they're genuine. It's your true self, and that's why I enjoy working with Wendy too, because it's just that authenticity that people are looking for these days. It's not filtered. There's not scripted. It's no agenda. I should probably prepare a little more for the shows than I do right now, but it's all from the cuff, and all the boo-boos and mistakes too. And now being in Miami airport, which is kind of an interesting experience. So what are some of those pearls? I mean, you mentioned one about beliefs. For someone who's never understood that, what do you tell your clients about limiting beliefs?
So that's a common phrase. A lot of people, and I guess a Tony Robbins environment would really understand that language. So when I think about a belief is when somebody would, for example, I always thought about my life, I can't do that because I have children. How am I going to afford that? How am I going to travel? How am I going to start my own business? I don't know how to do that. A lot of it comes from hows. If you think about that, like I can't, and I don't know how. If you really think about it, that's rooting back to something that you truly believe true. And it's speaking out through different phrases, like I don't know how I'm going to do it. So a lot of the times, if we were to think about like a limiting belief, it would be that. So it also looks like an excuse, but there's something that you are like, I love using the analogy of like a garden, right? And if we want this beautiful garden, like we need to dig out the weeds at the roots, because if not, they're going to overtake your garden. And it's the same thing with our minds, is we need to get in there and find those the roots of those weeds that are growing in our minds that are not making our garden fruitful. And those kind of things, those are the limiting beliefs that I'm talking about. So those phrases that you constantly really catch yourself saying, like, I can't do this. And in my life, I realized the big thing that I had was I felt I can't do this because I'm a single mother. I had my daughter at the age of 20. I had all of these quote unquote things against me, but really within that is the seed of conquering. It's no longer, my children are no longer an excuse. They're actually my motivation. They're actually my reason why I do the things that I do. And I kind of gave up that thought of I can't do this because I'm a mom of two children. I can't travel because I'm a mom of two children. Because when it's either you're gonna sink or swim, you swim. You learn how to swim. And for me, those beliefs is I started recognizing them. I started seeing what were the patterns of thoughts that I was saying, and then it really gets down, and that's when you start digging in the garden of your mind.
Right. I love that analogy. Um, and I'm just getting a message from Lindy. So there's a lot of background noise. Huh? Should I just knock those people away and send them away?
I think you can kick somebody's butt. No kidding.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I'm not going to get in trouble. You can. Well, you're too sweet.
I go boxing. We could spar. It'll be fun. Okay, no, quiet. Like Leah, you're on such a roll, and you're saying what you were saying was so poignant, and what really was touching my heart. And then I missed part of it, and I felt bad. I'm like, no, it's getting so good. I apologize.
No, that's
well, you know
okay, Wendy. You're so sweet.
Well, you know what that means. We'll just have to have her on again. And by the way, for the listeners, I forgot to mention, we are live simultaneously on Facebook, but also with the internet radio station, Radio Star Worldwide. And just a brilliant group of people with David Pratt, Ed Vanderlee, and just love the station, love the people. So anyhow, so limiting beliefs. So I guess, one thing, you and I have had some similar trainings, obviously, and now you volunteered for some of Tony's events, right?
I haven't yet. I'm actually going to be possibly in January, and when he comes to LA in, I think it's March, right? For UPW?
Yeah, he's coming.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
coming to
definitely
UPW in
going to be
March.
there in March. Yeah. So I do. I go to a lot of different trainings, and one of the things that I say is, the biggest thing that was one of the biggest changes in my life was my desire to have something more, which led me down a path of personal development and really becoming self-aware of who I was. And when you really go to events, whether they be Tony's or anybody else that really has that powerful message that you resonate with, I find that you discover things. There's no bigger return on investment than the one that you put on yourself. I can't even tell you how much it has changed me emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. It's quite an amazing path to be on, of just that journey of just becoming your best self.
So, and you have your own events then?
Sorry?
So do you have your own personal events that you put together?
In 2017, I will be, yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well,
yes.
I'll come and volunteer for you for that.
That would be wonderful. We would love to have you there. Would love to have you.
So one of the things that I found that's helped, me personally, and as a performance strategist or life coach as well, it's always the quality of questions that we ask. And what are you finding with that too? Because I find that so many people just are asking the wrong questions, kind of like what you alluded to before. why is this not working, or why can't I do this, or so how do you help people kind of restructure those kinds of questions so that they end up having better questions? Because I think once you have a better question, you'll
You're
probably
going to
get
get
a
a better
better answer.
answer. Yeah. Yeah, you ask better questions, you're going to get better answers. And the first step in if I were to say like one of the first things that I do in my coaching calls, I actually have them start to identify, because if we don't realize it's a problem, then there's no problem to fix. So step one is really identifying those words that are physically coming out of your mouth and recognizing it, because then once you recognize it, you're able to catch it and then rephrase it. That's when the training of yourself really comes into place, that I wasn't really consciously aware of my self-talk, the verbiage that was coming out of my mouth. So with that is learning that, and then you ask better questions instead of I can't do this because I don't have enough money. It's what can I do to afford that? What new business can I bring on? How am I going to get my business? If you change your and you become more creative. You're instead of being in survival mode, you become this creative being that finds a way to get it, because there's always a way. There's always a way. And when you ask a better question, it's how can I? What can I do that I haven't done yet that would yield that result that I'm actually longing for? And being crystal clear about that vision in your life is a major thing, a big part of what I do in my work. But asking those questions and rephrasing them. But the first step is really identifying the questions that you're currently asking and phrases that you're currently using with yourself.
So what kind of words do you use, Wendy?
Pardon? What kind of words do
Sorry,
I?
couldn't hear you.
Yeah, what kind of words or phrases are you using, Wendy?
Am I using? It's funny. I have this little mantra in my head from time to time when I'm having a difficult time. I just breathe in, really deep, breathe out, and just say, I can do this. I can do this.
Oh,
I can do this. And it's a positive affirmation. And if you just keep telling yourself, no matter how difficult the situation, that I can do this, you're putting belief in yourself. And as soon as you put belief in yourself, you know you can do anything. So that is my mantra: is I can do this.
And you look different, Wendy. What's different about you?
I dyed my hair pink. it's pink.
Oh, there you go. I couldn't see it.
I love
Oh,
it.
geez.
I love it.
I went boxing last night. I'm sore. Does that count? I'm really sore. really, really sore. It hurts to breathe. So between boxing and pink hair.
Wow. That's an image I'm not sure I'm comfortable with. Boxing in pink. Okay. Yeah, she's pretty intense. Now, do you do anything like that, Leah? I mean, do you kind of like get into some sort of intense training, physical training?
It's funny that you say that. So last night I was at an event, and friends of mine found out I was in Toronto, and my friend called me and he's like, I'm hosting an event. A lot of Tony Robbins trainers are coming. One of them flew in from Portugal, and he shared his message. And he's like, oh, by the way, we're breaking boards. I was like, oh, great, let's do this. Yes. So last night I totally broke a wooden board with my limiting beliefs on it for 2017. So I do my little resolutions a little bit different. So absolutely, I really believe actually I love that question that you asked, because I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how that intensity of a workout or something really, like, Wendy, how do you feel when you're boxing, and what about boxing do you love?
One thing about boxing is it makes me feel like I am in control. One thing about life, there's so many variables, and because there are so many different variables in life, you need to figure out what you can do to make you feel like you are empowered and in control. And so for me, unfortunately, once in a while I get crazy people who like to show up at my door. And so I need to make sure that I can protect myself, because one time I got off guard and I got attacked. So after that,
Wow.
I started taking self-defense class. I know how to disarm somebody with a knife. I know how to disarm somebody with a gun. I've taken up boxing, and it's one of those things where it's given me strength in my core to know, like, you know what, I believe I'm strong, and I know I am physically strong. But I think as a person, you need to believe in yourself and believe in your strength, and not just say, hey, I'm strong. No, you have to truly, truly believe it in your core being. And
Yes.
I feel strong. I feel empowered. And with boxing, it helps get out aggression, but at the same time, it makes me feel very, very strong in my soul.
I love that. Love that. I've done
Yeah, and that's,
kickboxing before, and it really is empowering. It really is.
it's part of that masculine side and masculine energy, and quite frankly, I think it's important for all of us. And it's just really interesting how often men don't even tap into that masculine energy. Just getting that aggression, getting that power out, and we can become so much more, because the truth is, as I've mentioned on earlier shows, is that 20x factor. There's 20 times more of us inside of us that can truly come out. And it's just a matter of just finding the way, finding that path to let it all out. And as I like to put it, I mean, do you really want to be that accidental tourist in your own life, just stumbling into the magic and the wonders of life, or do you want to be that guided, expert tour guide that's going to help you around and get the best and the magnificence that's out there? And that's why people like Leah are so critically important for others, because we all resonate differently with different people. And so that's why I'm hoping that people who are listening today will be able to find you. So what's one of the ways that they get to find you, Leah?
I'm very active on social media, so if anybody searches Leah Notarianni on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, and if they go to soulfulhustlers.com, there's a blog. I have complimentary strategy sessions for anybody that's feeling like maybe there's something more. There's lots of awesome tips and strategies and ways to personally reach out to me on my website.
So I have a question for you. What do you think most people are afraid of?
Their own
What are you
light.
finding?
I was going to say clowns, but I guess
That's so funny. Clowns.
clowns.
Creepy people.
But you're right. Those cops are kind of spooky. All right, so clowns, monsters, what else?
The boogeyman.
All right, I'm gonna ask the boogeyman. All right, Wendy, what else?
Oh,
What are you scared of?
what am I scared? What am I scared of? I'm scared of not completing all of my goals. I'm scared of feeling, and it's not necessarily failure. Yeah, nobody likes to fail. But for me, I always set my goals and I set my path. And once I'm on that path and I don't achieve that goal, then I'm afraid that I won't achieve it. And I always set my goals so high, because if your goals are easy to do, that's not a goal. You need to make it hard for yourself. You need to give yourself something to work on to make you grow as a person. So my fear would be is if I stopped growing as a person and just became stagnant.
So what are your goals, Wendy?
My goals? Oh my gosh, I have so many. I really want to support the arts more. I want to be a very productive member of the art society. Like really get heavily involved in more filmmaking and writing and directing, more modeling, more singing and writing. I love being creative, because when you're involved with the I mean, the arts is our culture. If you lose your grasp on the arts, then you lose a piece of your culture. So I really want to cultivate our culture and keep it alive and prevalent.
So what about you, Leah? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What magnificence are you creating for the world in 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question. It's kind of similar to Wendy's, but in the sense that I have so many goals. There's a lot of different things that I'm really looking to achieve. So to kind of go back on goals and what drives me, it's me in 10 years and chasing that person every day and being the fears of not becoming that individual. So my message, I'm really wanting to from a business standpoint, I love bringing out the best in people's businesses as a consultant. That's something that I'm just super, super passionate about, and really growing my speaking and my message to really empower everybody. But most recently, I really want to talk to that young woman that feels like there's no hope because they have kids or they have this life and they have all of these obligations around them that they can't truly live and be happy. And that's really what I would like to do is make a change in that in the generation of women that we raise up in entrepreneurship and bringing out their gifts and talents into the world regardless of their circumstances.
I talked to a wonderful coach, Dr. Connie. I don't know if you're familiar with her, and
No.
she's very much passionate about helping women. And we had a very interesting conversation how challenging it is for women being business people, being entrepreneurs, being in a male dominated industry. Because on the one hand, if you're too masculine as a woman, then it doesn't really work that well. And then if you're too feminine, then people think that you're weak. And quite frankly, I mean, I've always said that, perhaps the hardest job in the world and perhaps also the most fulfilling job in the world is having children. But, just taking care of children, because I know what it's like taking care of children, it's a beautiful thing, but there's so much more, for our intellect, for our spirits to embrace. And so, how do you help women? How do you inspire women to say, to what to focus on, if you will, that it's okay, to have, their own vision and ambition satisfied, and kind of sort of let go of all the responsibilities for the children.
So the first place that I start with is leading by example and truly living what I say, what comes out of my mouth, that authenticity of saying the things that some moms just don't want to share because you're afraid of feeling like a bad mother or you're afraid of all of these things that, we're all thinking, but who's the first to say like
Right.
really shedding a light on that place that I find right now is just the light isn't bright enough. And coming to that place that people can really connect with you because you're real. So when I think about that, it's just being really, really raw, real, authentic. And whether it's a Facebook Live or whether you see the daily life of it, it's that unfilteredness of being that so people can actually relate to it and understand, because sometimes on social media you get the highlight reel of people's lives. You don't get all the crap that happened in the background. You just get the highlight reel. So then everybody's sometimes sitting on social media comparing the highlight reels, but nobody's talking about that real, raw, honest, authentic, I'm struggling right now because I see my friends are succeeding and I have a child at home, or I have this at home, or I don't have the money to do that, and sitting in frustration. So just shedding a light on how you can change that. And I just really share my journey on how I've done it. I'm not perfect, but there could be something in there that inspires somebody to think differently and to try something new.
I appreciate you saying that, because number one, I was going to mention that earlier. I mean, a lot of people are out there coaching and consulting, and they have absolutely no experience in that. They may have read a few
Yeah.
manuals, a few books, but you've experienced it. You are experiencing it. I mean, you're the real deal. So that, in all fairness, you can tell people, there is no excuse.
No.
You've got the challenge. You've got two children, and you know what? I can tell you one thing: those kids are very lucky to have you, because you're not only following a dream, but you're also taking care of them as well. And that's tough. And I guess, I mean, for so many people, what I find, and I've recently really, worked on this part of for myself, is creating an environment around me that's really conducive and supportive to what I wish to do. And it's either the physical environment or the people around you. And my guess, and I was just watching the movie Inter with Anne Hathaway, and there's a scene, where these ladies are just, very mean to Anne when she's coming by to pick up the child because she's so successful, but she's not being quote unquote, the supermom. And so it has to be really tough, especially when you're in an environment that simply is not supportive, and you can easily get rejected.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
what do you
think
say? What do you say to them?
um being when you step out and do something that you're really wanting to do, that's a big change in your life. The second you declare who you are is when the opposition comes and tells you that you're not that person. So really it kind of, I love what you said about the environments. When you truly want to become something different and you're changing things in your life, the people and the environment is also going to shift. And that was a big thing in my life, is my environments and the people that are in my life are either here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And that was a major shift in that as well. So really going back to that is just, there is a lot of change that goes through it, and everybody's change looks different. It's not all the same. It could be these tiny little moments. Like when I think about all the things that I've done, it wasn't like, yes, I've made massive leaps and changes in some decisions, but a lot of the times it's one decision that makes an impact, and then you go on to the next decision, and it's like you build this momentum for change. So it's starting right where you are is what is it that you want to change today? So that's what
So
I
I'm
want.
sure, I mean, one thing that I'm sure that you've experienced, and I don't know if it's more, gender related or not, but I'm sure you've had a lot of rejection in your life, and for
Oh,
lots of different
100%.
reasons.
Yeah.
And you just muddled through it, just dealt with it, and plowed forward.
So for me personally, one of the things that I have is, if you were to say, Leah, what is your talent? If I were to look back in high school, I was that girl at the talent show that I'm like, I don't know what my talent is. I can't sing. Maybe I could dance. I don't like play an instrument, but there's one thing that I had, and I had this unshakable determination. And that, regardless, in that, if I think about it, it's like a muscle that it gets exercised over and over and over again. So it's like in sales, for example, if you're in sales, it's like the first 10 no's, like they penetrate your soul and you take it personally. And then as you said, for me, my no's became next. Okay, next. And if you really look at it like there is a yes out there and you keep looking for it, but here's the thing, it's tough, it hurts, you might cry some days, you might feel defeated, but that's the process of the growth. The growth is never this pretty, beautiful thing sometimes. It hurts sometimes. And for me, when I really look at that, is I get rejected for different things. I get no's or unexpected challenges come my way, and you just, as much as it sucks, you have to have that determination to really push through it. It's how bad do you want it? How much are you rooted in making a difference in your life? Because, like Wendy said, she's afraid of not becoming and fulfilling all of her goals in her life. And for me, I exercise that muscle to the point that it's strong enough to say next. It wasn't always that way, and I'm sure that my journey ahead, there's going to be times that I feel that way and it gets me down, but I have to keep saying next. because I know that there's a purpose that's so much higher than myself that I am here to fulfill.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too because, very often, and not necessarily always, but very often I think people just think that, it should be easy. They should get the rewards very, very quickly. And the truth is, it's work. It's hard work, and it's
It is.
consistent work. And as long as you're consistently doing that, ultimately you're going to get the rewards. And then once you get these rewards and you get to celebrate, and guess what? Something happens and they're taken away from you. And it
Always.
just continues. And I like what you said earlier. It's just your mindset, is what's going to get you through all the time. And, Wendy and I have had all these conversations too. And, it is just that mindset that keeps you through. And when you can have a positive, energy around you, which obviously you do, and then choosing that environment that supports it as well, because our conversations with Wendy, and you've been rejected, and it's an interesting process how that happens. And you think to yourself, hang on a second, why should I be rejected? I'm a nice person, I'm an attractive person, I do good things, why would anyone ever reject me? And it's sort of like, you talked about beliefs earlier on, and it's sort of like, well, hang on a second, these are good things. What did I get them wrong? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are your thoughts, Wendy, on that
My thoughts are with when it comes to rejection, it's not necessarily you that's being rejected. Maybe the person who's doing the rejection just had something else completely different in their mind. Same thing with auditioning. You might not get the part. It's not that you're a bad actress or a bad actor. It's just that you just didn't fit the mold that they were looking for. So I like how Leah, how you say, okay, no's are next. Well, for me, a no, it just means like, oh, okay, I wasn't the right fit. I need to find where I am the right fit. And it takes a while to get to that part in your life because, you know, growing up, every time you're rejected, you always feel it's something that's so personal and you take it so personally. But I think once you grow as a person to know that, okay, rejection isn't you, just that person's perception is you're not the right fit. And when you figure that out, it's really a lot easier. And it's not that bad.
one?
I get rejected a lot. And you know what? That's okay because that just means there's something better the next time I walk through a door.
Yeah.
And you know what they say? There's no such thing as an overnight sensation. Like it takes years to be an overnight sensation. So people don't realize that. A lot of people think it's so easy to accomplish everything. Well, once you realize a lot of really hard work to get where you need to be, and you realize that, then you can truly grow as a person.
Now, do you ever get that, Leah, that people come up to you and says, "Oh, you're so lucky"?
Oh yeah, I had that in one of the interviews I had. He was like, "Well, don't you get that? Like, you're so lucky." I'm like, "Do you know what I've done to build this Leah that you see right now?" And it's my message is to take the past 10 years and condense it so people can do it in 10 months, 10 minutes. Like that really, like the things that I've went through, I just want to take that experience and condense the time because time is the most precious thing that we have. So from past 10 years, bundle it up and go on and go and live your dreams and truly do that. But the work that goes in behind the scenes, we all see that meme on Facebook, with the iceberg and all the stuff at the bottom. Have you
Right.
seen that? Everybody sees the top, but really it's all the stuff at the bottom. It's that countless nights of reading or all of these different things that we do, these personal development seminars that we really do to develop ourselves to become better. And a lot of people don't see that. They don't see the blood, sweat, and tears. They just see this outer shell, which is nice to see, but it's not luck. Luck can only get you so far. I mean, there's grace and there's blessings and things like that, but you got to do your part because to be consistent, to be consistently moving up the ladder, that's not luck. That is work. That's hard work, and you continue to do that. We trip up the ladder sometimes and we fall up, but we keep moving up, but it's not luck. No.
So what's interesting too, and I'm going to put a plug here, and I'm going to invite Leah too. What do you think? Should we invite her to New Zealand? You're going to New Zealand, right, Wendy? I'm dragging you. Pink
I
hair or not?
I love New Zealand. I was an ambassador there for a while. I love New Zealand.
So there's
Oh,
this
I
amazing.
haven't been there yet.
Oh, it's
Okay, so here's the deal, Leah. In end of April, beginning May, you've got to clear out your calendar. I'm actually going to be talking about this on Facebook Live tomorrow
Yeah.
evening, with a great fellow by the name of Robert Evans, and it's liveyourlifelist.com. And we're doing this incredible event, in 2-week event, where we're going to be speaking in front of hundreds of people about personal growth, personal development. We're also going to do tons of humanitarian work with some of the tribes out there that rarely ever get any kind of visitors. But the experience is going to be tremendous with other thought leaders and transformational leaders like yourself. And it's for about 10 days. So I'll have to send you some of that information, and certainly listen to Facebook Live tomorrow. But, the truth is that when you get into things like this, when you get into the personal development, and again, this is part of the reason for this platform, is that it just opens up the door to so many more opportunities, so many other things. And I'm enjoying myself now going on Facebook and reading all this great stuff. And it's just an intense amount of information that's out there that's, ready for us just to embrace and change our lives. But what I like so much more is just the whole authenticity, and then your authenticity, Wendy's authenticity, and everybody else's authenticity on this platform, just sharing what's really important, for them and their experience. And so, we're slowly going to have to wrap it up, I think. But tell me, what has been one of the most, or what has been, one of the hardest things for you in your journey?
That's a question that I haven't been asked yet. I think that the hardest thing was holding on to all of the circumstances, all of my past, all of in living there. And everybody goes through things. We all go through pain, right? And the hardest thing for me was changing the way that I looked at those circumstances, changing the way that I looked at those stories, the past, that when you look at pain and all of those things, you can look at it from a different set of eyes with gratitude, knowing that everybody played the role that they needed to play in my life, that all of these things happened for my higher good, that all of these things were meant to create the person I am today. Because if I didn't experience any of those things, I would have nothing to say to you, because my life would have been perfect. So the hardest thing was really changing the way that I looked at my life and really owning it for what it was. And when you see it truly as a blessing and as this beautiful gift that you're given, you can look at it with a different place and know in your soul that it is for your higher good. And I know it's hard. I mean, when you go through things in your life, it's really hard to come to that place, especially when you're going through pain. But knowing on the other side of it that everything is just molding and shaping us for higher good. So I would say that.
Nicely put. What about you, Wendy? What's been one of your hardest things?
One of my hardest things? Oh my gosh. I think letting go of what was solid and what was secure to follow my happiness. I left a career as a diamond grader to be in the arts. And I left a security. I was so secure. I knew I was safe. I made good money. Everything was great, but I walked away from that. I let it all go because I wasn't truly happy. I mean,
Mm,
it was a nice job. It was a great career, but I wasn't fulfilled, and I would rather spend my life being fulfilled and then being. So that was the hard part, is security to go feel fulfilled.
I
Well,
love
mine, I
that.
guess. Yeah, I love that too. Mine, just sharing. And how many? Got 3 minutes left, Wendy? Is that it?
Yeah, we have three.
3 minutes. It's interesting what we're all kind of sort of saying the same thing, and it's just having to let go of something. And you talked early on about beliefs, and these are just simply memes or programs that we learn from somewhere. And I come from a family of very successful academics, all went to university, and all professionals, doctors, PhDs, and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember I'm the youngest of three, and I remember being told that I wasn't going to make it, I wasn't going to be successful, that I wasn't deserving. And so for many years, I had this passion of becoming a doctor, made a decision, and just blindly went into 17 years of training, coming out and realizing, okay, what's next, and really not thinking that I deserved success. And it took me a while to really understand what that was all about, and understand how beliefs can be very challenging, to you becoming the best that you can be. And, one day I heard this expression, which, was really very deeply impactful. And the saying goes like this: hell on earth if I were ever to meet the man I was meant to be. And it really hit me hard, and thought, wow, you know what? There's so much more in me that I can give, so much talent, so much gift. And so that's why I have this platform, so that, other people can, manifest their dreams. And I very much look forward, for people to find you, Leah, and many of the other people on this platform, but today, especially you, because you have a gift. I've been watching on Facebook, and it's such a delight, such an inspiration. It's a lot of fun. And it's just you feel good when you watch you, and that's awesome.
Thank you.
So wrapping up, I'm here in the Miami airport, just flew in from the Bahamas. Again, doing some stem cell surgeries there, one of the most incredible experiences that I get to have, again, transforming people's lives, with all sorts of medical conditions, and stem cells definitely is the future. But this is also our future. It's tapping into our authentic genius, tapping into that brain intelligence that's out there, because look, we don't, we live in an intelligent universe. Things are not happening by random. And so it's really entirely up to us to make it happen the way we want. So thank you very much. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation. # real people, # real conversations. Talking to Leah Notarianni, Wendy West, and I will be back on Facebook tomorrow.